What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We're going to do another build here. I'm going to show you the bike in a second here. This one here isn't mine, it's my buddy's. I'm doing some upgrades to it for him. So I'll show you the bike right now. Right, so what we got here is a 2018 CRF 110. Like I said, I'm going to do some upgrades for my buddy. I've ordered some upgrade parts from fasterminis.com and factoryminibikes.com. So as soon as they show up, I'll probably start putting the new parts on, but for now I'm gonna have to do a little bit of tearing down, and I'm gonna have to wash the bike. So today I got some help again to tear down the 110, so me and Ella are gonna get started and take all the plastic off. You ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, get square onto it. Get square onto it like that, and then twist it out. You're doing good. Now you can use your fingers again, probably. Pick it out of there. There you go.
That was easy.
Yeah, that's good, hey? Go on to the next ones. All right, so we got the seat off now. So now we're just gonna try and look in here, see what we got to deal with for dirt.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So anyway, this is really dirty, as you can see here, but we're gonna wash it out soon.
So there, we got the plastics off now, and now, thanks to Ella's help, we've got everything exposed now, ready to go outside and wash. So I'm hoping for some plus temperatures here in the next couple of days, so I can wheel this thing outside and give it a good power wash out in the driveway. Yep. So it's a couple days later here, and it's warm enough to actually pull the bike outside and wash it. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up the pressure washer and get her all cleaned up. Okay, so we got it all cleaned up now, ready to roll back inside. It's definitely a weird time of year to be pressure washing a motorcycle on my driveway. Usually this is frozen, but it's probably +6 Celsius right now. All right, so I got the bike behind me now. It's all washed up. I finally got the last shipment of parts in the mail, so we'll check that out quick and go through it a little bit. So in this video, mainly we're going to be focusing on the big bore kit that TB makes. It's going to consist of the cylinder, the piston. The piston comes with the clips and the wrist pin. It also comes with the oil rings in the box. They're actually over here. I just don't have them out on display. Everything that you need is in there. So also, like, you can get the whole kit that comes with all this stuff, or you can order it separately, but you don't have to order the intake kit, but I would, because you're putting more displacement in your engine. So naturally, you're gonna need bigger fuel air mixture. So I would get the carb. It's gonna give you a little more oomph with the 132 big bore kit without the carb kit, but it's not gonna work properly. It's not gonna give you the optimal performance that you're looking for. So I would get that too. So that comes with the carb, comes with the intake piping, comes with the cable. So I got the kits from these guys at factoryminibikes.com. So I'll link it down below in the description where I got it from and how you can get right to it, because you're going to want to get these as soon as possible if you're thinking about doing it, because these are in pretty short supply. It seems like I wanted to order the whole kit all together, but we had to order just the separate big bore and the separate intake kit, and it probably cost a little more to order those separate. So I would order them all together if you wanted to do that as soon as they come back in stock. So if you're breathing heavy, you got to obviously exhaust more heavy. So we got a Piranha exhaust system. So I can't wait to put this on the bike and see how it sounds. It sounds really, really throaty on the videos, but usually when you hear something on a video, something like this on a video, it doesn't really do it justice. So I can't wait to fire it up and see how it sounds in real life. So I got the bike behind me here, so I'm probably going to start tearing that top end off of it so I can get this big bore kit in. If you want to see the whole build, make sure you subscribe, because I got more parts to go on it. I'll go through that in some later videos, but for now we're going to do the big bore kit and the exhaust on this video. So the first thing I'm going to do is drop it off the lift right now and put it on the kickstand and drain the oil. So I got the oil draining now, so now I'm gonna go, since I got it down off the lift, I'm gonna take the exhaust off now. Okay, so we're getting it all set up to get the head cover off, and then we'll take this plug out and take that plug out, and then we got to do the timing. It's really important that you find the top dead center on these, and you got to find it on the compression stroke. That's really important too, so you got to make sure that's where you are when you take these heads apart, or you might run into trouble while you're trying to haul it apart. So now I've got the head cover off, as you can see. So now I have to take these caps out, and I've got to turn it until I find top dead center. It's always nice when you take this stuff apart. It's already done, but you can see here a couple of marks. So that's been indexed by somebody before, so it's going to be really easy to put back together. So it's always a good idea to try and do that kind of stuff when you're taking these things apart. So when you're taking these two plugs out, this one is a 10 mil and this one is a 6 mil. I didn't have a 10 mil hex, so I just rigged up a little bolt, so that goes in there, the head of it like that, and I should be able to hopefully turn it out. When you get these two plugs out, you're going to have access to, there's a nut in here inside the flywheel, and there's a hole up here for your top dead center marks. So you want to rotate it until you hit the, I'll show it to you after, but a point I want to make is when you're rotating these engines, you really want to make sure to take note of how it feels when you're turning the engine over before you complete the work you're trying to do. Because when you're done putting the big bore kit on, it is going to need to turn exactly this easy with the big bore kit. So you want to make note of that. So it tenses up a little bit, or tensions up a little bit while it's trying to stroke there. And then once it does, it's nice and easy. So if you start turning it over after you've got your work complete and it's really hard and something feels weird, you just want to have a good reference of how it feels to turn this engine over when it's conditions are normal and it's in good shape. So just showing you what I mean by getting it top dead center and compression. Right now, if you can see inside there, it's really hard to see, but I'll see if I can. If you can see those marks at all, it's lined up with that top notch, or almost. But the point I'm trying to get at is right now, it's at top dead center, but the problem is it's on the overlap. So you have to rotate this another 360 degrees and get that mark lined up in there again, and make sure these valves are loose. So you're gonna need gap in between in here. If you can see that, you're gonna need some gap in there, and you're gonna need some gap in here, needs to be loose. Then you know you're on your top dead center compression stroke. That's where you need to be when you take this apart. So I'm gonna rotate it 360 degrees with the ratchet, and you'll see this turn 1/2 a turn, and there is lines here. You can see they need to line up with the case half here. So as soon as I get to where I need to be, then I'll probably start taking all the head bolts apart and get this thing off of there, or get the chain off. So as you can see, I did 360 here, and this did only 180 degrees. So now you can see, it's probably hard to see, but this valve is now loose, and that valve is now loose. So you can really feel them when they're loose, when there's no spring tension on them. I'll drive it over one more time just to, I don't know if I'm getting this on camera, but now we're not top dead center compression. So now these valves, you cannot do anything with them. You can't slide them side to side. You can't do anything. They're under spring tension. So you don't want that. You want it, you want no spring tension, not in the overlap. So I'll do one more 360, and I'll line them up, and they should be good to go. Yeah, so we got movement there now, so we know we're in the top dead center compression. One thing to mention when you're doing all this, people usually probably do this, but just make sure you're taking pictures of everything in here, just to make sure you know how it goes back together. I've looked into service manuals, and they're not exactly the best for showing descriptive pictures, so you should probably take your own, just so you know how it goes back together when you're done. Right, so I got everything apart here, all the carburetors out and everything. So now I can start taking apart these, taking the nuts off, and start taking these, taking the head off and taking the cylinder off. And then that's where we're gonna add our big bore kit in there. Before you do that, you wanna make sure you just give this a quick blast with air or something like that. Make sure it's all free of debris before you break it apart. And if you got something to cover that, go ahead and cover that up so nothing gets in there. So before you take these out, I guess you want to take this gear bolt out, and you want to take the chain idler bolt out first, and then you can crack those nuts loose and take everything apart. I had to stop filming the time lapse there because hopefully you can see, yeah, you can see them now. There's a couple of 8mm heads there you gotta take off, and then you can take the head assembly off. So I'm not gonna film that because you won't be able to see it anyway, so I'll start filming again when I can bust the heads apart and get it off. Got everything out of there now. So now you just have a look at your piston here. You want to see if there's anything bad going on with it. It'll be easier to tell when you get it out of here and on the bench. But for now, probably just gonna take the clips out, get the piston out, have a look at the rings. The rings are a good indication if you're a little bit confused as to what rings go where on the new big bore kit. You look at the old one and then you can kind of see you got your compression ring on the top, you got your wiper ring, and then you got your oil rings. So you can kind of get a good gauge of what you have to do to your new cylinder before you put it back together. So next up, I'm going to get the clips out of here, see if I can remove the wrist pin and get the piston out of there and clean up the face. And one thing you want to make sure of is make sure that this chain is around that gear inside there before you put everything back together. Here we have a side-by-side comparison as to what the change is. So that's the new one, that's the big bore, and that's the stock size there. So that's the one that's going to be going on there. That's 132 cc. So give this bike a little bit more get up and go. So I've got the stock piston out here now. So we'll move over to the big bore piston and I'll start showing you the order that you got to put the rings on. So in this kit, TB supplies the piston, the wrist pin, retaining clips, and all the rings that you need for the piston. So when you're doing this, as always, you want to use a little bit of assembly lube. I'm just going to use a little bit of engine oil. That works just as good as anything else. So I'm going to start by putting the oil ring on. So that's 3 parts. See if I'm getting this on camera or not. So that's 3 parts. So you got your little thin rings here. There's 2 little thin rings. And so you want to put one, we'll go from the bottom. I don't know if you can see this. I'll see if I can line this up on the camera. So you got a bigger groove on the bottom, and then you've got 2 smaller grooves. So this is going to be the oil ring, this is going to be the wiper ring, and this is going to be the compression ring. And I'll show you what the difference is in a second here, but we're going to work on the oil ring. It doesn't really matter what order or which ring you put top or bottom on this one. There's no markings. So how you'll start is you'll put the first ring on, and you'll slide it all the way down to the bottom. And just add a little bit of oil around there. And the second part, you put the little waffle ring, or whatever you want to call it. Put that on next. So that goes in the middle between the 2 thin rings. And you want to pay attention to how you orient these rings, because they gotta, the openings need to be, what I'll probably do is I'll put one opening here, one opening here, and one opening here, kind of in thirds. So you find the opening of the bottom ring, and then you just orient the other rings accordingly. So I got the oil ring in now. That was a little bit of a challenge. Pretty tight in there, so, but anyway, it's in there. The next ring is going to be the what they're calling the wiper ring. So this is probably the ring that's wipes the oil back down to the sump on the downstroke. So this particular ring here it's all like a dark color, and it's really hard to focus, but there's markings. I don't know if you can see the markings here. There you go, R55. So you want those facing up. So you want them this way, facing towards the head. So what I'll probably do is I'll install this one with the gap up. And then I'll install the compression ring with the gap down. As long as they're 180 out from each other, I think you're good. Okay, so got the gap on that side, the opposite side of the intake. So I'll put the compression ring 180 out from that, and again the compression ring has the R55 marking on it, so that goes up towards you as you're installing it on the piston. And now that you have the piston rings all put back on the piston, or installed on the new piston, it's time to put it on the bike. Just a note, the intake is on the up side, so you want to put it on the bike like that. You see the IN? It also comes off like that on the old piston. I'll grab that quickly. So that one, you can see the IN, so that's intake, so that's going to be pointing up when you put it on the bike. A little note TB Parts puts on their gasket kit is if you're using the stock valves for your CRF 110, they supply this gasket, but if you buy their big valve kit, they supply this thinner gasket here. So just something to make note of. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is install the provided gasket. If you're installing your old valves, this is the gasket you need to use because it's thicker. So if you install the thinner one that's made for TB's big valve kit, you might have your stock valves kissing your new piston, so you don't want that. So you just gotta lift it up over get it up over the dowels here. There you go. There we go. You know, when you're doing this, nothing's really perfect, so you want to give it a bit of a wipe here. So the next is you want to put your new piston in. So I got the new piston in there now. When you put these in, you want to just take a second and make sure the clips, retaining clips for the wrist pin are in properly. That's one of the last things you want to overlook and let go inside your engine while it's going. So again, make sure the IN is facing up because that's where your intake is, above here. So now I don't know what's going to happen here, but I'm going to try and fight the new cylinder on, and see if I can get it on there without too much trouble. Alright, so now we got the cylinder in, we got the piston in, cylinder in, and now next, I did have to tap this a little bit to get it to seat against the engine again, against the case. So now I'm going to put the idler in, and then I'm going to put the head on. Right, we got the idler in, so next is going to be put the head gasket on, and then the head, and then hopefully we'll be able to time everything up correctly and get this thing going. Right, so I'm just going to put a quick edit in here. When I installed the new cylinder, I forgot to take the dowels out of the old cylinder and put them on. So when I put the head on, there was no dowels in here. TB doesn't supply new dowels, so you got to take the old ones out and put them in the new cylinder. So just so you're aware, so you don't make the same mistake I did and have to go back and put the dowels in. So now that I got the head on, I'm gonna have to put the nuts on and bolts and tighten them to what it says 10 foot-pounds, but I'm gonna have to feel it out because I don't have a wrench that goes to 10 foot-pounds. So I'll be using some blue thread locker just to make sure that nothing comes loose. Right, so now we're back into the timing portion of the install. So I'm gonna try and get this again, just because, so you can see it. That's the top dead center mark there. So the T with the line and that little notch right above it, it's got to be timed up with that. And the gear has to be timed. I'll show you in a second how it's supposed to be, but it's got to be, important thing is it's got to be top dead center on the compression stroke. So I'll show you that again when I put the timing chain on. So on this side of it, you want these notches, these lines here, you want them lined up with the case half perfectly. So I'll put the timing gear on, and then I'll show you what I mean after that. Okay, we got it all timed up now, so I'll show you what it looks like here when you're on top dead center compression stroke. So you'll see the lines there. They are parallel with the case. And then this is really hard to get a shot of, but that mark up there, this little notch at the top there, if I don't know if you can see it, that needs to be lined up with those marks in there. So again, always turn it over. Don't just assume you got it right. Take a ratchet, something, turn it over. Make sure it's operating smoothly. Okay, so I just brake cleaned the heck out of it there. So now I'm gonna turn it over just to demonstrate how easy it should turn over if you've got it timed correctly. So I'm gonna put the ratchet on it now and just turn it over a couple times just so you can see what it looks like. So on these engines, the correct way of travel is you wanna turn it left on your ratchet. So now it's very, very easy to turn over. Not very easy, but easy enough where you know you don't have any hang-ups. So there we are, we're back around top dead center there on the compression stroke. So if you got it this far, then you can start bolting up the head cover again. So before we put the head cover on, we want to torque this bolt down to 20 foot-pounds. I think I'm going to zip it out quick, and I'm going to put some thread locker on it and then put it back in and torque it back down. And you can back it up over here if you don't want to take the case off to do that. You always want to make sure you use blue thread locker on these little bolts. If you use the red stuff, you're going to have problems getting them out if you ever do it again. It's going to be a thing. Alright, so we got that bolt all torqued down now. Make sure you torque that down before you start buttoning everything up. So now we'll put the head cover back on, and we'll put these plugs back in. So I got the head cover tightened down. I put a little bit of silicone around here just to make sure the oil doesn't leak out. And you can see here the index marks. So you just gives you a peace of mind to know that you're putting it back together properly. So these here I'll probably just tighten up later on. And next is going to be the intake and exhaust. But that'll be in the next video, so make sure you subscribe if you want to see that, if you want to see the Piranha exhaust go on and the TB intake go on. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.